So this crazy trumped up drama over BTS SUGA and his scooter has come to an end. Prosecutors have essentially done an express paperwork trial. SUGA is not going to be going to jail. He's just going to be paying a fine. And it's finally all over. And we're glad that SUGA was able to keep his head up high during the whole saga. He was very demure. He was very mindful. While all the haters, it looks like you could use some of that, and you should have been a little bit more demure and a little bit more mindful. So what is a summary indictment? So essentially when the police find all of the evidence and they think that there's a case for a criminal punishment, they have to toss it over to the prosecutors. The prosecutors can continue their investigation to make it look, to go after something even bigger, or they can just use what the police have compiled and go to trial. Or, in this case, with SUGA, they can do a summary indictment, which basic summary means like they just wrote something down. So it's like a paperwork trial. There's no courtroom. It's already all over. The judgment has been passed down. And so they did say the blood alcohol concentration was 0.227. Okay, well, if that's what it was, I guess that's what it was on the paper. And so in that case, because it's over 0.2% blood alcohol, the punishment is a prison sentence of 2 to 5 years, or, that's the key word, or a fine of 10 million to 20 million won, about $10,000 to $20,000. So you can pay $10,000 to $20,000, or you can go to jail for 2 to 5 years and not pay. So most people pay. And in some ways, that does contribute to the whole uproar over drunk driving, because it seems like even in this type of a case, all you have to do is pay $10,000 or $20,000 if you're in a situation like that. And so that's what gets people mad, because they think it's just such a light sentence. But in this case, SUGA was not operating a vehicle. We can go over this or debate this ad nauseum, but you can check out the other videos if you haven't been keeping up with this case. He wasn't on the roads of Seoul driving a motorcycle, even though a lot of the haters were trying to portray his situation as such. Not very demure, not very mindful, and even the head of the city transportation department in Seoul did not know how to answer the question of which type of vehicle classification does SUGA's scooter fall under during a hearing. So there's this lawmaker on the city council in Seoul, and she wants to just ban all of the personal mobility devices. And then she showed the head of the transportation bureau a picture of SUGA's electric scooter, and she asked the guy that was supposed to know and make the laws, is this a personal mobility device, or is this an actual scooter that would count as a vehicle? And he couldn't even answer. And she's saying like, oh, that's my point. Exactly. People who make the laws don't even know. So how do you expect the citizens to know? However, it seemed like a lot of the haters out there were already expecting everybody to know that this was some sort of vehicle that would count the same as a truck. Doesn't make sense. And so, it shows that the toxic fandoms, they could really take a note from the demure and mindful dude. And if you are they, them, you don't, or she, her, I don't know. But if you haven't been following, let's take a look at what just went viral.
You see how I do my makeup for work? very demure, very mindful. I don't come to work with a green cut crease. I don't look like a clown when I go to work. I don't do too much. I'm very mindful while I'm at work. See how I look very presentable? The way I came to the interview is the way I go to the job. A lot of you girls go to the interview looking like Marge Simpson and go to the job looking like Patty and Selma. Not demure. I'm very modest. I'm very mindful. You see my shirt? Only a little chichi out, not my chocho. Be mindful of why they hired you. Here's your reality check, diva. What's the name you'd like me to make it out to?
So see, even she's saying that you should just tone it down. You don't have to be, trying to be obnoxious all the time. And Yunjin from SSERAFIM recently went on a WEVERSE live, and this is what she had to say.
First post. It gets so easy to be all cynical and like snarky and sly because that's what gets you the most, engagements. But there's a law, there's a principle in the universe. And what is true and what is just and what is right will always get the last laugh in the end. Okay? So, don't worry. We are strong-minded, strong-willed people,
So first of all, I didn't know she was so fluent in English. I didn't know she grew up in the United States. So that's kind of cool, especially when she does the behind the scenes, or we see her in her K-pop idol mode speaking Korean, totally like Korean vibes. And then I guess in her natural English world, totally American vibe. So that's kind of cool. And so, yeah, so she's saying that, like, it's easy to be very cynical and snarky and sly because that's what gets you most engagements. Not going to argue against that. But she says that there is something in the universe as a principle that what's true, just, and right will always get the last laugh in the end. And I think that's true. I think that it's going to show that there should be a little bit more of a mindfulness and a demureness and a politeness in the fandom. And we have seen that, I believe, in the BTS fandom a lot. And from the beginning. So instead of BTS's fandom being such the outliers of how demure and mindful they are, perhaps more other fandoms should follow their lead, especially Bunny Fufu hopping through the forest might want to follow the trail of BTS mindfulness. You see how I collect my photo cards? Very demure, very mindful. I don't go on Weverse and order a bunch of funeral wreaths. I don't look like a clown when I speak in support of ARMY. And I don't claim to speak on behalf of the entire ARMY. I'm very mindful while I'm serving the tea. You see how my shade is very presentable? The way I talk here is the way I talk to you face to face. A lot of you girls go online looking like Shira in a thong and go to work like a rained out bunny. Not demure. Not very modest. Not very mindful. You see my support for ARMY? Only a little chi-chi, not my chocho. Be mindful of why you're a K-pop fan. Here's a reality check to the other fandoms. Don't rely on shamans to bet on what's coming next. And the global BTS ARMY has not only been walking in support of SUGA and in general showing their support and love for the BTS fandom, they're calling upon the world to be a little bit more mindful when it comes to spotting the fake ARMY. They said that the BTS ARMY is a vast fandom based around the world, yet a small number of people have recently released statements through the media claiming opinions that are contrary to the beliefs of the overwhelming majority of ARMY. So again, there is no centralized ARMY spokesperson, organization. It's literally just people around the world who seem to coalesce around a very similar zeitgeist but there is no way to officially quote ARMY in a news article or as a source. There is no way, because there is no actual president of the BTS ARMY. And so a lot of these media smear campaigns have based themselves off of so-called representatives of either the Korean BTS ARMY or the global BTS ARMY, and playing into the ignorance of the non-BTS fans, thinking that, oh, there must be an official organization and an official line. The only official part of it is if you are registered under WEVERSE, is the official fan club, and you get your fan club membership. But there is no spokesperson. You know what else was not very mindful and demure this week? SNL Korea, this week and last week. So this week they made fun of SSERAFIM. Last week they made fun of NewJeans. Now, the way that people can pick apart this, and it's not so obvious that this is supposed to be SSERAFIM and that's supposed to be NewJeans. It's not very obvious, but everybody knows if you are a fan and have looked into it, and people did not like how SNL Korea was just kicking SSERAFIM when they really had no basis of being kicked. Usually you're being called out on a hypocrisy or a criticism or something where it advances society for this political satire to be made on the SNL brand platform. But SSERAFIM, there's really no reason, and it seemed very undercutting and sly and mean when they actually made it sound like they were making fun of Sakura's family history. She had an estranged relationship with her father, and they tried to make fun of not only their Coachella concert, but instead of saying Coachella, they were saying like Coachella. So that means like orphan. And so they're like, you're trying to shame her for the relationship with her dad that was completely beyond her control, and she's not an orphan, but you're basically trying to like say, oh, you are orphaned by your dad because your dad, left your mom. That is just really creepy and not very mindful at all. The previous week they made fun of NewJeans, but it almost looked like they were more making fun of the president Yoon Suk-yeol and his oil exploration policy and his proclivity to use K-pop stars to advance his political agenda. That made more sense as political satire for the SNL Korea platform. And the joke that I loved the most was at the end when the Yoon Suk-yeol character was, of course, giving his comments on how to make K-pop, how to even sing the lyrics. And so a lot of the times, if you work in Korea, and this is why I think it resonates with the audience, is that you've all been in this situation when you had the older, especially Korean man boss, thinking that they need to say something as if they're like Kim Jong-un on a factory tour and give his input, and then he was saying like, you gotta say, oh, pigs, oh, like barrels, and the girl was just like, oh yeah, okay, like this, oh, and then she's like, yeah, do it like that, and then everyone's like, okay, yes, we're gonna do it like that. That's happened a lot, especially like if you've done voiceovers and stuff in Korea. They want it to sound like this, as if it, almost as if it was kind of North Korea. To be fair, it does sound better in Korean when you kind of do like have that kind of a voice as opposed to like when you do the English version of the commercial or whatnot. But this was even a Korean to Korean kind of input, so I thought that was kind of funny. Now let's go on to the Fact Music Awards. Whoa, this was a little bit not very demure or not very mindful on the part of the NewJeans girls. Both Danielle and Hain looked like they were doing Stockholm Syndrome. And like two NewJeans girls went out and accepted the award and were making essentially statements in support for Minijin in this ongoing battle, calling her still the CEO, even though she's not the CEO. So really out of line, really not playing the cards right, not very demure and not very mindful. I don't know if there's going to be this reaction of support as much as they think that that kind of bold maneuver would make. We've seen this already when they were doing this right in front of Hong Eun-chae of SSERAFIM at KBS, and that was extremely rude. You can refer to the video I made on that as well. So hopefully this is a sign that we need to move back towards a little bit of demureness and mindfulness, politeness, people who are really just making the choice of being blessed through hard effort, and really celebrating artists who do that versus, being doomed and damned to damnation with easy wins from cheating, and not celebrate groups that seem to engage in that kind of behavior. You thought K-pop was just about music, but these K-pop groups are getting into grown people business, so that give us an example of life lessons. So hopefully we see more of the fandom, especially the toxic ones, take the baby steps to blessings, and like that viral TikToker said, it really does start with being very demure and very mindful. All right, guys, what do you think? Put your comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.